Okay, we'll call to order the meeting of the Plan Commission for Thursday, April 7th, 2022. Pam, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Denise, roll call, please.
David Drake,
Here.
Dan Swafford,
Here.
Terry Baker,
Here.
Don Calvert,
Here.
Sandra Hash,
Here.
Pamela Samples,
Here.
Pat Wezalowski.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes for March 3rd of 2022.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of the March 3rd, 2022 meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We have no old business. New business is preliminary plat approval for 65 single-family lots in Barberry Lake Estates, Phase 2, at North Loudon Road and West Reeves Road. The petitioner is Josh Clark, and the case number is PC 22-02. Kevin?
I've been having issues with PDFs on here all day, and it just shut off, so we may have a presentation, we may not. See what happens. All right. Case tonight is for preliminary plat for Barberry Lake Estates, Phase 2. I don't know if you remember, they did Phase 1, 2020, I believe it was, which was 5 lots on Loudon Road. This will be the other 65 lots to the west and north of it, basically covering most of the corner at Loudon and Reeves, across from the schools. The average lot size is probably going to be around 1/4 to 1/3 of an acre. A few of them are a little bit larger due to easements and so forth, but generally you're going to have about 1/4 to 1/3 of an acre. There's a lake on the property that will remain, be basically open space. I don't want to call it green space since it's water, but you get the idea. It could be green, I guess. I don't know. Parcels are zoned R1 single family residential. This did go before the Tech Review Committee on March 22nd. All the comments that were brought up have been addressed in the latest set of plans. I sent those out earlier this week. It's been, subdivision request has been properly noticed in the mail and in the Herald Times. This stupid mouse isn't going to work. All right, so it's most of this property here. This is the 5 lots that were already approved, but it's the rest of it that'll be built out. I have site and landscape plans, which aren't going to show up great on here. I do have the actual file for that if I need to zoom in on anything in particular. Landscaping, pretty much same as every other subdivision with street trees as required. Just some photos. This bottom one is from the Reeves Road side, kind of looking straight back. Actually, all these are from the Reeves Road side at the open field. It's about all I have. I can answer any questions, or I can turn it over to the petitioner.
You don't have pictures of the 5 he's built already?
I didn't get those, no.
He's not built all 5 yet.
Oh, okay. I know there's 2.
2, I think he's working on a 3rd, or 3 and you're working on a 4th.
We've got 1 is sold, 3 more under construction, and the 5th one is sold as well.
Okay.
Are the sidewalks, can you bring up the sidewalks, zoom up a little bit?
Try.
It's hard to tell on my set, but is there sidewalks along the existing roads and stuff? Are we, like on the corner lots?
I mean, there should be sidewalks throughout the property. And there's an easement connecting, let me see if I can. There's the easement connects to the walkway that was put in behind the 5 lots that were approved before, but everything else has sidewalks on it.
Is there any grass between the sidewalk and the street, the curb?
Not yet.
Rick Cobb, Brian Faneuil. Yeah, there's a tree plot in between, there's a tree plot in between there, and then there's actually a 5-foot utility strip on the back of the sidewalk, so that for utilities, you know, gas, water, sewer, all that. And then there's the sidewalk that goes up to the school, which runs kind of beside the existing house up there, so that there's a direct access straight across from the school. And then you've got sidewalks on the frontage on Reeves Road and Loudon Road, so.
How far from the street to the sidewalk where where you said there's the grass?
5 feet.
5?
Yeah. There should be, well, do you guys, I don't know if you guys, there's a typical cross-section in there too, if you.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
It's at the bottom of the sheet, but it's a 60-foot wide section. It's on one of the first two, I think it's with the, might be it's at the very bottom of the sheet. There it is.
Is it this street?
So you got 12 foot of pavement and 2 foot of curb and gutter, then 5 feet of street lot, and then 5 feet of sidewalk. And then you got a strip behind it for the utilities, so. That's basically a half side. 12 foot on the side. 24 foot total. I mean,
Are the driveways, what are they gonna be? 2.5 cars, or how wide are the driveways when they put them in?
It'll be varied by whatever the builders decide. It's maximum 22 feet at the right of way, but they can widen them out as much as they want.
Does anybody have any more questions for Rick while he's up there? How about for Kevin?
Have the 9 planning comments been addressed?
Yep. Everything that was in the tech review comments that were attached to packet have been addressed. Some of those aren't necessarily going to show up in the plans, but they've been addressed through our office or the fire department or whatever office had the comments.
Would is this the actual petitioner here? Would he like to say anything, or?
if you have any questions, you'd be happy to answer any of them.
Okay. I just didn't know if he wanted to get up.
You're
and
gonna
say
start
anything.
building out there.
The plan
You
is
need-
spring.
Be sure to tell him who you are, Joel.
Hi, my name's Josh Clark. I'm the petitioner. So we're looking to break ground this summer. Start cutting the roads in July is the goal.
Lot 70 is the lake, right?
Yes. Yeah. The lake will be retained within the HOA.
And each of the property owners that will be responsible if they have these retention ponds or the water quality areas, they'll mow them and maintain them. It'll
That's
be on
right.
their deeds.
Yep.
Any more questions for the petitioner?
Will you make it clear? I mean, will it be really obvious that those are water retention areas and that they shouldn't build on them or fill them in?
It'll be in an easement, and it'll be in the drainage easement where you can't do anything.
Okay.
But they'll actually be incorporated as part of the yard, so they'll just look like a big hole out there. But they're fairly gradual. They'll have an under drain in them, keep them dry after it rains, and then dry them all the way out, so.
It's pretty flat up there, isn't it?
It is, we had to, raise a lot of the road up to get it to, so we can get everything to work to drain to the pond, and keep the pond elevation at the same height as it is now.
Yeah, on the grading plans, it does show the easements around all the retention areas, but I can't get this to move, so I don't know what's going on.
Okay, if there's no more questions, is there anybody from the public that would like to comment on this proposal? Come on up and give your name and sign in on that log.
My name's Toby Turner. I'm the property owner, actually. Do you care to bring up that full plat?
I don't know if I can.
I'm the property owner to the west, the farm to the west with the long blacktop paved driveway that runs right up beside this property.
The one thing that says Asphalt Drive?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So I have my residence is at the end of that drive, and it runs up pretty much my drive runs up the full length of that property line. And what I've noticed on the plat, the setbacks there, which I'm sure Rick drove those to, I think I noticed there was one at 10 feet, and there was one at 20 feet. Or the rest of them were at 20 feet.
The rest of them were 20, 10 was the side yards, so the rear yards are 20 feet.
So it just depends on which way you turn the house, I guess. But what I'm getting at is my drive is probably 5 feet off the property line. So I'm looking at homes anywhere from 15 to 20 feet off my drive at this point. And those homes are going to be built 15 to 20 feet off a driveway, which is mine, which will have headlights and noise. And I guess my concern is the proximity of those homes being to that driveway and to my property line, which a few months ago, this was cow pasture. We have 100 acres there. We have cows. We raise corn. We raise beans. We'll continue to do that. This development is currently across my driveway from those fields that will be farmed. So I didn't know if the commission might look at some type of landscape berm, some type of barrier, some type of landscaping to separate that development from the property before we have issues down the road. Fence, I know each property owner at some point will probably have the opportunity to build a fence, but then I'm looking at, 6 or 7 homes of hodgepodge fence along that property line. So that was one of the issues I kind of looked at, and not only the noise and the lights of my vehicles in their home, but they have kids that are going to play in the road or play in their yards, which is the setback is they can build a home closest 10 feet to that property line, Rick? Is that correct? Setback?
On lot 47.
47 is 10 feet. The rest of the lots are 15. 20. Yeah. So yeah, I do have a concern there of, I live in the county and am currently in the county. My other concern was the density. I'm sure that this development probably meets all your requirements of quarter-acre lots. Not sure what the capacity of the structure there for the roads and the streets, especially there near the school. If anybody's drove through there at 8 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I know we already got school administrators out there guiding traffic, and I think there's always a police officer dedicated to that intersection. So you're adding, 65, 70 more homes to that area. So density was a concern of mine. Also, I have to look at stormwater. I know the school added on just across from my driveway recently, and now Reeves Road does flood, and it comes across Reeves Road and floods Mr. Clark's property, in the corner there. He has a pretty good wet spot, and then comes down and goes across my drive, which is, my culverts currently can't handle the water now, since that new detention pond had went in. So now I look at stormwater that's coming from 65 lots, and that farm's always been pretty wet. One reason why it was never farmed, it was always pasture hay, just because you couldn't till the ground because it was so wet. So stormwater is currently my driveway floods. During the last significant rain, since that the dam has been breached, it's opened up so big that it flooded the second culvert that you can see on that drawing. It hasn't ever flooded over my driveway before, but since the pond isn't, it's letting more water out than it has in the past, so the water comes over my drive at this time. So I'm pretty concerned about what all that impervious surface is going to do, and what we're going to do with that water, and hopefully that they looked at downstream where that water's going and what it's going to do. I think it all goes across my property, and there's a sinkhole on that next farm of Lysandros's that takes most of that water. Is that correct, Rick?
Sounds right.
And
I'm not sure about the single part, but
do we know where it goes?
I don't know where it goes after leisure. I didn't do the drainage, so I'm not positive.
So I think I would be interested in seeing where the water's going downstream, and if that's a sinkhole, can it handle that much water? I'm sorry.
I was talking.
Oh.
Yeah, we usually only allow 3 minutes for comments, but you just go ahead and try to finish up what you.
Okay. Well, like I said, I was definitely interested in the stormwater, and I seen a pond there that's going to maintain water, and it's going to be maintained by a homeowner association that may or may not take care of it, may not be able to take care of the liability of it, may not be able to, who's going to be in charge of security, and who's swimming there, and who's fishing there, and where are they parking when they come do that, and who's on whose property. But I guess that's neither here nor there.
Did you see the prints for the retentions around the pond? Were you able to see those?
I just recently, me and Rick was talking about the full set of prints. The only thing I seen, I think what was in your guys' packet, which doesn't give much detail. That was the only thing that was supplied.
Well, they are going to repair the dam. That's a good thing.
That would help, yes.
Yeah.
But like I said, 60 to 70 lots and plus the streets of non-pervious surface, it's going to create a bunch of water. And all I got's a 24-inch pipe right there. And I know we looked at that, and I don't know who did the stormwater at the school, where they recently added on there to the school and made that is a detention pond there. But it floods Reeves Road at this time.
Okay, well, as far as, I mean, we can only require what the town code says we can require. I don't think there's I don't think we can make them put a berm up along the driveway because it wouldn't be required by the code, but, I mean, you can certainly talk about that with the developer and see about.
Well, I know his interest is making as much money off he can off the lots, and that's another reason why they stub those roads. I work for the county highway department. I'm actually the county superintendent in Monroe County. And the reason they stub those roads to those properties like that, because they can get more lots. Most of the time we don't allow those stubs because the street departments can't turn around back there.
Well, and we actually make them do that too, because we want to provide for future connectivity between
Yeah. And me
neighborhoods.
thinking as a highway guy, it's difficult for my guys to get a snowplow there and get turned around in a stub and get back out.
Well, at least you won't have to worry about this subdivision. Because the town will have to take care of that.
Correct.
That's
correct.
But yeah, so pretty much if it meets all of the town code requirements, we have to approve it. Anything extra, you can feel free to talk to the petitioner and try to get.
Sure, and he's
Some of-
reasonable, and I spoke with him, and like I said, I'm not against him. If he wants to develop it, that's great. But I also moved there on a 100-acre farm, and now I'm getting a 65.
It's catching up to all of us. I used to have a big cow pasture behind my house too, and Not anymore. It's catching up. Okay, well, thank you.
I guess one thing, since the stormwater would be coming onto a county-maintained, that lot was annexed into Ellettsville, and the stormwater, I just wonder if maybe we could involve the MS4 coordinator of Monroe County, and maybe they know where that water's going, and if it can take it, and if it cannot.
Yeah, that would have to be something Rick would have to answer.
That would just be extra, huh?
Well, Rick would have
Once it gets
to.
off Ellettsville's lot, we don't care where it goes.
Well, no, I'm sure they would have.
Kevin, we've looked at this. I mean, the stormwater and the drainage, correct?
It gets reviewed.
Right.
Tech review. I wasn't out here for tech review, but
I did the tech review and it did.
Okay.
Because of what came up were the retainage ponds. And then I think I remember we talked about the elevation of the land and how it was going to flow.
I know it's always a big concern when we take on a new subdivision and they engineer them, and they always say they're engineered to handle all the stormwater created by the construction. But then when he has the one right across the street that's failed already, it's a little discouraging. I can definitely see his point, and we all know that Ellettsville's very wet, especially this time of the year, but
I will say that project of the school is not finished yet.
okay.
It's
So,
actually gonna add more water because the road is not paved yet. And once that road gets paved, it's gonna have more impervious surface. Right now, that stone road will take some of the water, not a lot, but it'll take some. But once you pave that road, there'll be more water.
When we met for the inspection to give them a temporary certificate of occupancy to get them in their classrooms to finish the school year, they wanted to move. We did discuss the stormwater and retention and some erosion control. So the contractor will be addressing those things. And they have to go through a final inspection yet on that property.
But their project ends at that pipe where it dumps it out at the edge of the road. I mean, they wasn't made to do any other improvements other than get it to the ditch. So once they get it out there, it's kind of forgot about what goes on downstream. And I just hope we look at this subdivision and see where this water's going.
And once again, our requirements just address what happens on, that they contain their water on their property. I mean, we
If they keep
typically.
it on their property, that'd be fine with me, but it's gonna run downhill. It's gonna,
Well, I think the pond may help more than what you think.
if the pond was empty, that makes sense, because it would retain it, it would detain it. But with the pond being full, it's just gonna run out as fast as it comes in. So it's not carrying anything. But if that pond was empty like the one that they built across from the school there,
Yeah.
that pond is made to fill up, drain out slow, and go empty. This
They
pond's
have
already got
several-
water in it.
They have several other drainage.
Right. I was noticing
One,
that
two,
too.
three, four more drainage areas instead of that are supposed to collect water. So,
that's the ones I was asking about the property owners were gonna maintain.
I think Kevin might let you know, I think once it's stormwater, that would be a stormwater issue, and the town stormwater department would be in charge of that. You can't just put that off on, that's an MS4 coordinator's.
But our engineers or the engineer of this addition is saying that with these 4 additional water quality ponds, that they can retain the water off of this property.
Yeah, and I hope it does, I really do. I just hope it gets looked at hard enough, and I don't see what it would hurt to include the county's MS4 coordinator, who's gonna get the water, to maybe have some comments.
yeah, if you want to contact that person and have them get with the developer and the engineer, then, I mean, but they've done everything that's required by our code, is what I'm saying.
Do you know the Monroe County MS4 operator?
Are you asking me?
No, I was asking.
No, she's talking
this-
to him.
Since he works for Monroe County. Rick, do you have any comments? I mean, do we coordinate with them at all?
No. We have our own MS.
But he's talking about after it leaves the town property.
We do not coordinate with them for projects in Ellettsville. There's really no reason to. We do standard stormwater calculations like we do for a county project, but we've designed it so that all of our improvements go through a water quality detention pond, so it doesn't increase the runoff. We have off-site drainage that runs through the site that goes directly to the pond, but I mean, we detain all of our water from our new developments, from our impervious surfaces. So we account for that in those water quality ponds, and so that's taken care of before it goes to the other pond.
Are you saying to us, Rick, that all the water that it will generate off of the subdevelopment will stay there?
It won't stay there, but it'll be detained, and so it releases, its flow rate release is the same as it was prior to development.
Okay, that's what I was coming to.
Yeah. And that's typical of any subdivision design or whatever we design.
I guess maybe my concern is the development across the street went through the same process, and I've got what I've got now, and now I've got another one that's going through the same process. I just want to make sure it doesn't happen again or make it worse.
Denise?
I thought I heard him say that you've got a 24-inch pipe. I did. And with that development, that wasn't gonna be enough to take care of that water. And now Rick's saying that the water will not flow any faster off of that property than it did before.
Yeah, Rick's saying what he's currently drawn up, that he's held enough water back that it can go through. My pipes in my driveway can take that. And I hope that's correct. I didn't know. I just know the development across the street went through the same process, and we were told the same thing, that what's there is going to take it and it can handle it and you don't get any more water. And as you all know, when you drive down Reeves, when it rains significantly, the water's over the road, and then hence comes onto Mr. Clark's property, and then comes down and flooded my driveway out, which makes it impassable.
So we're talking about lot 6, I think it is. I think it's the first lot up there, the furthest northwest corner, where it comes from the school, comes across lot 6, runs down and then crosses Toby's driveway. That's where it floods in there. That's the issue that we've.
That's the issue where that development should have resolved at this process to make sure that didn't happen. And I just want to know if we're going through the same process with this development, I just don't want it to happen again. So if we need to add another review, or if we.
Rick, there's a dark line there on lot 7. Is that a culvert under his driveway?
It is.
It's 2 culverts.
There's 2 culverts there.
There's 2 smaller culverts there.
Yeah.
And
they've been washed out. Actually, part of that's been washed out where the water's got over those culverts.
And I was talking with Josh. I mean, if it's a big concern, I mean, he's just willing to work with you about putting in a larger pipe there across where those 2 culverts are, if that helps out anything.
I know I spoke with Mr. Farmer on this pipe, and he's been out there several times, and we've talked about it too, Rick. But I haven't been able to get, it's just hard to get, that current development has there at the school, it has an 18-inch pipe out of their pond, which snubs right up against an 18-inch pipe that's under the road. Well, there's another pond just 50 feet up the road there at the old elementary school. There's a 12-inch pipe of water that comes out of that pond. There's no way an 18 can take an 18 and a 12, plus all that water is coming down the hill. So somebody missed a boat somewhere. I mean, it's just obvious that it can't take all that water.
Denise, I was going to ask you, you've made the statement that project's not completed yet?
That's correct.
Okay. So, has anyone that we know of looked at that issue, or?
Yes.
Okay.
We've sent people out several times to look at it. I don't know.
Is it something that still hasn't been completed
He's
to the
talking about
project?
the primaries.
Yeah, I don't know if Rick's been out. Have
I
you been
looked
out?
at Toby's project. I've not looked at the primary school.
It might have been Mike Farmer and
I've met Mike out
Whoever's-
there a couple of times, yeah.
maybe someone from street department.
I mean,
Let's look.
we can at least verify that it was built to plan, right?
Yeah, and when we go through their final inspection, I know they still have a little bit of grading to do on that property yet also, so.
I can't imagine they wouldn't work with us and try to get that improved if it's a problem.
Yeah, there's some projects the contractor has with other schools, so they're going to do some, when they bring their equipment in, they're gonna do it at the same time, so they don't have to bring equipment in, take it back, and bring it back in, so.
If it's
It-
done as designed, I don't know that the contractor has done anything wrong, would you say, Rick?
Yeah, I don't, like I say, I don't know, but I haven't really looked at that part to check it against the plans, but it's probably not the contractor, but I mean, who knows? I mean, we'll have to look at it and see, and the problem is, when we looked at Toby's problem, I mean, his problem is, he's getting too much water, but it's on his property, so the town can't really do anything about it.
Yeah,
Because
because
it comes from
I'm in the
school.
county, my MS4 coordinator can't do anything because the problem is in Ellettsville.
But it wasn't there for very long. We've just annexed that property not too long ago.
Correct. No, there wasn't a problem till the development part. My driveway never flooded, my pipes didn't get washed out until that school project happened.
Oh, okay, so the school project, not this property.
Now, this property, like I said, I just want to make sure it doesn't happen again and somebody's looking
We
at
want to do
the
that too.
stormwater issue, and I don't see what the issue would be with coordinating with the municipality that the water's going to, and, you know, what's gonna happen downstream? Am I flooding anybody out?
Well, the question would be if the county MS4 coordinator wants to get with our MS4 coordinator and try to work something out, that's great.
Right.
But the bottom line is, we're not engineers. All we can do is just take the word that the engineers say this is gonna work, and, I mean, I certainly couldn't tell you. I mean, I'm not an
And I
engineer.
couldn't do the calculations myself, but I know an 18-inch and a 12-inch can't go through another 18-inch. That's where it goes over the road.
Okay. All right, well, hopefully we'll be able to get something worked out. But we've gone way over on time here.
Well, I apologize for wasting your time, but it's my life.
It's not wasting our time, but if we let one person do it, then we gotta let other people do it. So we try to be, no, I meant at other meetings. I mean, we
Okay.
have to kind of be consistent. Anybody else? Okay, do we have a motion?
I move approval for preliminary plat approval for 65 single-family lots in Bayberry Lake Estates, Phase 2. Josh Clark, case number PC 22-02.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Denise, roll call, please.
David Drake,
Yes.
Dan Swafford,
Yes.
Terry Baker,
Yes.
Don Calvert,
Yes.
Sandra Hash,
Yes.
Pamela Samples,
Yes.
Pat Wesolowski.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And I would like to request that we, I personally see no harm in reaching out to Monroe County MS4 operator and asking them, letting them know that we're building this new subdivision, and do they have an opinion on how it affect downstream? I mean, it may not be our responsibility, but we could be good stewards and kind neighbors and try to work together. What do you think? I mean,
I'm not the MS4 coordinator anymore, so I don't know.
Darla, can I call the MS4 operator in Monroe County and ask him his opinion on this?
Her.
Okay. I will do that, Toby.
I think too, if you could get Kevin or Denise and they could kind of check into the school project and see where they're at on that, and maybe just see if they can't help a little bit with that too, seeing how the project.
I spoke with
Yeah.
Mr. Farmer, spoke with Mr. Grady, I think I've left messages.
Okay, well, it sounds like done that, so.
They weren't on the inspection for the temporary certificate occupancy. So Mike and
Yes.
Kip aren't privy to those conversations.
Okay. Well, it's something we might be able to help.
Who do I need to speak with?
Kevin, do you mind if he contacts you and you can kind of check into it?
I mean, I'm really about the least involved of anyone in this process. I don't do the building inspections and I don't do the MS4 inspections, so.
What is the MS4 operator's name, Toby?
Kelsey Fatonia?
You know how to spell that?
Yeah, Kelsey, T-H-E, I can give you her phone number here soon.
After the meeting, give me the number. Thank you.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is the planning department update.
Nothing. Nothing has been submitted for next month either, so.
How are we doing on our RFPs for our planning, or zoning?
Working on them. They're
Are
not
they
done
getting
yet.
close?
No, but I'm trying to get it written. Just hasn't gotten finished yet.
And I just want to comment that it's real hard to sit up here. I'm not an engineer. I know our commitments. If it meets our requirements, we're supposed to approve it. And it looks like it'll be a really nice subdivision, and it's got fairly big lots, and that one lot that Rick talked about, Lot 6, is a half acre. So that, maybe that'll help some, but,
And I understand, and I don't want to keep anybody from developing their property. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure you guys understand that you have lots of power up there, and you can, you affect people's lives.
Well, and-
with what
and
you
I-
approve and what you do not approve, and getting more information is never a bad thing.
No.
If you have a question, you can always table it, you can always make,
I think this is the first time, if I'm not mistaken, that a neighbor of a development want us to look downstream. And I don't think that's our privy to do that. It'd be up to the neighbor to get a hold of the individuals or whoever, and if the town was doing something wrong, they would have the opportunity to have it on paper and come back to the town. I just don't think it's our, I don't say it, if we should do it or not. I asked Rick if more water would go off there due to the development. He said no, he'd like the same. And he's our engineer. If we can't believe him, who are we gonna believe? And, nothing against the gentleman that lives next door, but I think it's that person's duty to look to see what's going on downstream, because he is downstream. And if there's something we're doing wrong, then put it on paper and come back to the town. That's my opinion.
I guess that's why I was here, because the development across the street, I didn't think be able to get any relief from, and they went through the same process. So I was just wondering if we could maybe look at it in a different way, just to make sure it doesn't happen again. I know you gotta believe in your staff, absolutely. I have staff myself, and I have to believe they can do their jobs.
I could see us doing it to one, and then every development we have to do it at. Then where are we at?
Well, I mean, my thought was, just talk to Kelsey, let him know we're doing this subdivision, and maybe he'd just like to go out there and look at it. He can't make us, it's a her, I'm so sorry, excuse me. I have an uncle that is a Kelsey who is a him. Anyway, he can't really bind us to anything. We can't bind them to anything. But if he would have a suggestion and we could work together on it and maybe work with the developer, I trust Rick's plans that they're going to retain the water. But, I'm thinking with my heart right now instead of rules and regulations. That's all.
Okay, Kevin, did you have anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on something that wasn't on our agenda for a maximum of 3 minutes? Seeing none, are there any plan commission comments? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.